Let's go right to our panel. Angela Rye is a political strategist and principal of Impact Strategies, and Nia Malika Henderson is the national political reporter for the Washington Post. Welcome to both of you. Nia Malika, I go away and take my daughter on a college tour. Democrats, Republicans, business and Labour all agree there may very well be a deal for comprehensive immigration reform on the table. So do you think it's time to put the champagne on ice?
Well, maybe you should go away more often.
Thank you.
Like this will happen
Yes.
Much more often. You know, this is a reason to celebrate for those that want to see immigration reform get done, because you had a situation as little as a week ago where you had the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Labor at loggerheads, not speaking and unable to figure out a way forward on the guest worker program. It looks like they've nailed down some details around that, the amount of guest workers they'd allow into the country, anywhere from 20,000 to 200,000. And you remember in 2007, this was a big sticking point, and you had Republicans already preparing to blame unions for any immigration deal that collapsed. They were essentially ready to point the finger at unions again. But I think, you know, we've seen a lot of progress on this. We'll probably see more details, outlines of a bill coming forward. I think the prediction is that by next month, we'll see something.
Angela, not to get too excited, Marco Rubio took great efforts this weekend to apply the brakes, and essentially he said there's no deal yet. What game is Mr. Rubio actually playing? And I don't wish to be suspicious, but do you think he's slightly concerned that he might not get any credit for something if it moves too quickly?
Martin, it was Marco Rubio's early April Fool's Day joke. I don't know really, but I think that what we see here is Marco Rubio continuing to play to the far extreme right wing of the party. We know that any potential progress on a deal, this right wing of the GOP will continue to brand it as amnesty for 11 million people, undocumented people. And they continue to perpetuate the problems, the stereotypes, the prejudice that exists for people in this country. And so we have to look at the progress that is being made. We see that there are folks that are working very diligently to find a pathway forward for 11 million undocumented, as well as other programs that impact other members of Congress. For example, there are sticking points such as a diversity visa that, for all intents and purposes, sounds like it's out of the deal, but there are a lot of members that are diligently working to ensure that they will still have access and protect this type of program for folks who are from other aspects and spaces and places in the world.
Indeed. Nia Malika, let me play you something from the PR department of the Republican Party, Rush Limbaugh. He said this about immigration today. Listen.
If the Democrat version of this happens, it's going to be amnesty. And if that happens, it won't matter. The Republican Party's finished anyway, whether it's official or not. They're never going to win another election.
Nia Malika, it doesn't sound like Rush Limbaugh expects the GOP to win over many Hispanic voters anytime soon, does it?
That's right, and he's obviously looking, you know, at history here in some ways. Romney didn't do too well. I guess he got about 23, 24, 25% down from those historic highs that we saw George Bush reach. I think you have a situation where Rubio, on the one hand, is trying to persuade conservatives, persuade people like Rush Limbaugh, but he's also reaching out to immigration folks, pro-immigration folks. I talked to a Latino pollster. He said that the best thing that Rubio can do is to keep seeming like he's a leader on this issue. On the other hand, I talked to a conservative Iowa Tea Party guy. He said the best thing that Rubio can do is to kill immigration. So those are the sort of two warring factions that Rubio is dealing with here. But I think if you look at the sort of overarching narrative here, he's obviously going to run for president in 2016, or I should say most likely. And if he says he can get, say, 15% additional more, you know, Latinos to actually vote Republican, then he would be a real contender. Of course, he's got to get through the Republican primary first, and that's why he is pushing, in some ways, these sort of moderate Republicans like McCain, not seeming to be too close to those, because he's still got to keep his bona fides with the conservatives.
Of course, and to that point, Angela, let me show everyone a new Gallup poll. It shows voters' top complaint about Republicans, and even among GOP voters, the top complaint is a failure to compromise. Could whatever Marco Rubio is doing, Angela, here, backfire on him because he may not end up compromising?
Well, it will with the rest of the country, Martin, but again, we have this very extreme wing of the party that he continues to appeal to. These are the Tea Party folks. You know, this is the reason for this resurgence of this movement in 2010 when folks just wanted to take their country back. So in part of taking their country back, I think immigration is a large part of that. And he's going to continue to push for that because that is the reason why he's here. The Tea Party is his base.
Nia Malika Henderson and Angela Rye, thank you both for your expertise.
Thank you.
Next, is the Atlanta cheating scandal an isolated incident or further proof that turning the classroom into a business is a very